To Holy Grit Leadership That Lasts, the podcast for leaders who are done with fluff and hungry for depth. Hey, listen, if you're looking for more than just quick wins and shallow strategies in leadership, you're in the right place. We're talking bold, ethical, and effective leadership fueled by timeless truth from scriptures and built to withstand the pressure of the real world. Okay, now listen. Whether you're leading a church, running a business, managing a team, or just trying to hold your life together on Monday morning, Holy Grit Leadership is here to help you lead with courage, clarity, and conviction. Listen, this isn't your grandma's Bible study, unless she was a total boss. Let's dig in, let's lead well, let's build some leadership that lasts. Dun, 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 dun. Episode 10. Matt, how are you doing today?
Good. We're halfway home.
We're halfway home into season 1, our 20 episode season. It just seemed like yesterday I was banging on your door saying, hey, could you do a podcast with me, please, sir? Please. And you said, okay, I guess I'll help you out. Yeah. So episode 10 today, The Art of Failure. I'm really excited about this. This should be pretty fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, especially something that you're an expert on, I'm glad that we get to talk about.
You're holding that one in the chamber for a while.
I have.
Yes. And I'm glad that you can spot all my failures as they have triumphed over you now.
Yeah.
And speaking of triumph, we have a new segment, the college football pick'em segment. So what I did is I chose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games head to head. Matt made his picks. I made my picks. Let's get them on the record. Are you guys all ready? So Iowa versus Kansas State. Matt, who'd you choose?
I'm going K-State.
Oh, man, I did too. Okay, we got to tie it there. Nebraska versus Cincinnati. Who do you got?
Okay, this was a tough one for me because...
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati, they're always tough. They're the real deal. And it's crazy because Nebraska, everybody gets excited about the season being national champs. And then all of a sudden you lose to, Northern Illinois.
Yeah, we're playoff bound.
Okay, all right. So I'm going with Nebraska, but I'm cautiously and I'm a little bit nervous about that game.
You should be nervous because we might win by 40. And the next one, speaking of your team, Georgia Tech versus Colorado. I'm assuming you're taking your Buffs, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there may be one game they lose this season. That's about it.
Okay, well, this one might be the one because I chose Georgia Tech.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm picking Colorado.
Oh, my goodness.
There's no way I'm picking Colorado. Every true Nebraskan, Matt, knows you never pick Colorado. Texas versus Ohio State. Who you got?
Texas.
Oh, I do too. Okay. Alabama versus Florida State.
Oh,
who'd you choose?
Well, that's an easy one. Alabama.
Yeah.
West Florida
Roll
State
Tide.
has a huge turnaround. That was crazy last year. I just completely felt. They go from being the national championship game, and then epic fail. We'll see how they turn it around.
Well, the art of failure, they might. Speaking of this, that's
podcast. Right. Okay.
Florida State, if you're listening, pay attention.
Yeah.
LSU versus Clemson. Who you got?
Clemson.
Okay, I chose LSU.
I actually will go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that's your national champion this year.
Ooh, early sleeper pick. Okay.
Not even a sleeper pick. I mean, a lot of people are saying that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I chose LSU, so we're head-to-head there. Notre Dame versus Miami. Who you got?
Miami.
What? You're not going to choose the Fighting Irish? Oh, man.
The reason the Miami Hurricanes are poised to make the playoffs.
They do have a really good quarterback, and I know that. But listen, you never sleep on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So I chose Notre Dame. Utah versus UCLA.
The Utes.
Yeah, me too. I got them the same. Virginia Tech versus South Carolina. The Gamecocks.
I know. I should be picking South Carolina, but I'm going to say there's an upset in store here. Virginia Tech.
Oh, hokey.
Bring back, Beamer ball here.
I love it.
There's going to be some special teams magic happening.
Oh, yeah. Well, in South Carolina, that's Beamer's son.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
So maybe I should.
Yeah, you just better watch out.
Yeah.
TCU, last one versus UNC. Who do you got?
I've got you, or I'm sorry, TCU.
Ooh, okay. I went with North Carolina because good old Bill Belichick's down there now.
I know, he's a joke. He didn't stay in retirement.
No way. I just listened to his book, The Art of Winning. Phenomenal.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh.
Good.
You would think it would be really boring because he talks like this as a listen, but to be honest, his stories were so engaging that I was all in. I was loving it. It was cool.
I love those guys. Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
Now, you can't say that he and Tony Dungy are on the same level. Like, Tony Dungy's up here, Bill Belichick's maybe.
And maybe in being a man, but coaching wise, you don't get too much better than the old Bill.
Yeah, well, his common sense went out the window a little bit.
Yeah. He's kind of had a little bit of a rocky type of thing. Found a young gal, and not really what we would promote here on this podcast. Would it be?
Well, no, but I would just take away the fact he's a great coach.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's get started. Before we get started into episode 10, the art of failure in leadership. Matt, we have a daily dose of encouragement segment. So, Matt, I'm going to kick this to you. Go ahead.
So this is Moses speaking to his successor, Joshua. He's getting ready to take the Israelites across the Jordan River into the Promised Land, and they're going to face some giants. And this is really cool. This is one of my favorite passages because we all need this as we face our giants every day. The temptation is to run or cower in fear. And so this is what Moses speaks over Joshua: be strong and courageous, for you must go with this people into the land that the Lord your God swore to their ancestors to give them. You must divide it among them and their inheritance. And then he said, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged.
Oh man, I love that. Just the idea of facing giants and having God on your side.
Yeah.
Makes me I've got goosebumps right now. It just makes me feel at peace in the hurdles and obstacles that come up in my life. I mean, and just that's amazing. So if you're out there and you've got your own giants to face, whether it's anxiety or depression, whether it's a big thing at your job or, conflict that you're trying to work through, what was that passage again?
Deuteronomy 31:8.
Deuteronomy 31:8. That's a little daily dose of encouragement for you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Matt. So that was awesome. That was really good. So we're going to kickstart episode 10, The Art of Failure. Matt actually chose this episode. Matt, why were you thinking The Art of Failure? A little bit of a history for you. I mean, maybe you've just been failing a lot lately.
I watched a lot of people fail. I have failed. And I think we've all failed. We obviously have. And so you can either take your failure and you can let your failure win and continue to win over you, or you can learn from your failure and you can move forward. And so failure is the greatest teacher. And so that's why I chose this episode. Is I've learned a lot from the things that I've done wrong or failed at. And probably learn more in my failures than I have successes.
Yeah.
And I hate failure. I don't want to fail, but it happens. And we have to say, okay, this is what went wrong, and I'm going to right the ship.
Let's sit and marinate for a second on letting your failure win. What does that look like in our everyday life? Like when we fail and we let failure win, what would that look like?
That would look like sulking. It would look like giving up. It would look like being angry or bitter. So many people, just some news for you in this. Jesus actually said this, John 16:33, he said, in this world you will have trouble. And trouble most of the time comes from other people that you're surrounded by that fail you in some way. They don't do what they're supposed to do, or they backstab you or hurt you. And you can either let that destroy your life and be bitter and angry and sulk and say life's not fair, or you can say, you know what, I know life's not fair.
Yeah.
I'm going to move forward with this. So what it looks like to stay in your failure is to continue just to sit where you're at and sulk. But courage says, no, I'm going to move forward.
Yeah. And to when you're letting your failure win, it's not even movement. You're just lying there dead, right? It's when you don't let your failure win, you might still feel like it's something that's heavy and weighing on you, but you're still taking a step forward, and you're still taking a step forward, and then you're still taking a step forward. But people that allow that failure to win over them do this right away. I'm done.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm done.
Yeah.
And, you see that all too often in our grumpy staying culture, where, oh, you made me mad, so I'm quitting, the quiet quitting culture. And that's something that I want to tell all of you right now, is that have the dignity and the integrity to not quiet quit at your workplace, to not grumpy stay where you're at, to not let the fear of failure, or even the process of, you made a mistake, or maybe something happened where you don't feel like you're winning right now. Don't let that hinder your progress, right? Because a lot of trial breeds into testimony, right? I mean, that's a big thing. Like, you hear testimony after testimony that comes from trial, that comes from failure. And that is something that where God can use those things still and still turn them into his blessings, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine the greatest example of all time if Jesus had stayed on the cross.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to imagine that.
No.
That would be terrible. Yeah, absolutely.
For all of us. But he rose again. And so our lives reflect that, and then we're going to get knocked down. We're going to get beat up. We're going to fail. People are going to ridicule us. They're going to mock us sometimes when we're down. But man, the best leaders are the ones that lead with courage and conviction. And they realize that failure is a part of life. You're going to learn from it. You're going to move forward.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So then, Matt, how do we process failure as leaders? That's a hard thing. So when you're in leadership, and, I think the word failure is so final, but let's just say mistakes. Like, how do we process our mistakes as a leader? How do we process the things that aren't going well? Because just because things aren't going well doesn't mean you're a failure, right? And that when we say the word failure in this leadership podcast, we're not talking about the finality, right? There's no steps forward. What we're talking about is just when things aren't going well. So how do we process that?
Right. Now, I think it begins with our mindset. That when we try to do something, we're going to inevitably, like when you shoot a basketball, does it go in all the time?
Most of the time.
Most of the time?
For me.
Okay. Yeah. You're going to miss some shots. Yeah. You're going to miss some field goals if you're a field goal kicker. That's probably the hardest thing about going after goals in life, is knowing that you're going to miss the mark.
Yeah.
And so you have to go in understanding that you are not perfect. And so many kids struggle with this because they don't understand this yet, especially kids, right? They think they have to get it right away and be perfect right away. And that's why parenting is so important, that we say you're going to miss, you're going to fail, but you got this. Let's learn from that and grow. And
right.
So it begins with a mindset. So that's how we process failure, is it begins with the mindset of understanding there's going to be days that we don't get it right. But then it's not what we strive for either.
No, absolutely not.
I'm not going out there to miss a shot so I can learn from it. I want to make the shot. I want to learn. And
having that understanding that failure is an inevitable part of growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's inevitable. You don't want to fail. You don't want to take a step backwards. You don't want to be burdened by your obstacles, but it's inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
In order to grow, you have to have conflict.
Mm-hmm.
In order to grow, you have to be able to experience some sort of pause, some pushback, some resistance. And I will tell you, very rarely and almost never, I'm going to go ahead and on a limb and say almost never will you try to be a risk taker and to achieve a goal and just have a smooth road.
You're right.
This doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. There is resistance. And too often as leaders, we view that resistance as failing.
Right.
Because we want everything smooth.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, what that is doing is just like sandpaper. It's smoothing it down. It feels rough,
Yeah.
but it's actually smoothing down the overall goal. Wouldn't you agree?
Right. I agree. Again, going back to Jesus, what we saw as failure, him dying on the cross, was actually victory.
Yes.
It was, God knew, we didn't know, but he knew, like, I had to go to the cross. That's victory. And we saw this, man, he failed. He died. The disciples saw that. They were sulking. And of course we would have been as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what we see as failure, God sees as victory. So our setback becomes a setup for what is coming next. And so when we look at failure, when we fail, we don't always see what God's doing behind the scenes. He's growing us in our faith and in our leadership and our ability to lead others.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about Peter a little bit later, but one of the greatest examples of that is Peter.
Yeah. And and the idea that joy comes in the morning, it's so hard to see, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the night and you're in the darkness, and to know that God is going to bring you joy in the morning if you can remain faithful, if you can endure the race, if you can persevere. Those are the things that God rewards through his own way, but that's something that we have to always remember. And so, another question I have is failure always bad? And I think we know the obvious answer, but it's not always a bad thing to fail. What do you think?
And no, it's not. Again, it's not what we strive for, but it's what we learn from. And here's the thing. Failure is bad in the sense that there are some failures you can't come back from. There's few of those, and those would be the moral failures, man. Like, you cheat on your spouse, you can't come back from that very well. Like, there's forgiveness and there may be some restoration in there. Those aren't the kind of failures we're talking about, but I want to be clear on that. Like, don't assume because we're saying, hey, you can learn from your failure.
Yeah, we're not enabling like the big ones, like the 10 Commandments. We would say like, hey, listen, that's one that where you're probably not going to grow a lot by making those mistakes over and over again. Yeah. Right.
So when we're talking failure, we're talking about those things. You're striving to do good. You're striving to lead your company and you blow it, man. You say the wrong thing to the wrong employee, or you mess up on a numbers on a sale. You don't pay attention to details. You're like, okay, I get the guarantee next time if you lose $1,000, you're going to pay attention to where that decimal goes, right?
Absolutely.
You're going to pay attention. You're going to learn from those things.
And it sounds just like your leadership at New Hope. A lot of decimal missing. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
A lot of failure.
Yeah, that's right. So then how did Jesus view failure in his disciples, and what did they learn from it?
Jesus was always calling them higher. That's what he was doing. He was always challenging them to move forward into their destiny. And for the best example of that, this coming weekend, I'm going to be preaching on Peter when it's right on the heels of Jesus declaring to Peter that he's the rock, that he's going to build his church on. Peter gets it right. And he's like, yeah, Jesus, you're the Messiah.
Yep, you're the one.
And then right after that, on the heels of that, what I'm preaching on this weekend is Peter. He responds to what Jesus tells him he's going to do. Jesus is telling his disciples, he's like, hey guys, I'm going to die on the cross. I'm going to suffer at the hands of sinners. I'm going to be resurrected. And that's my victory plan. Are you ready to get on my team? And Peter pulls him aside and he's like, hey coach, this isn't right. There's no way you're going to do this.
That's the wrong play.
And what does Jesus do? He rebukes him. He says, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
Because see, what Peter doesn't understand is that there's a bigger game being played than what he can see. And so Jesus says, get out of my way, man. And he goes, if you're not for me, you're against me. And that's all like a crazy thing for Peter to hear in that moment. And so then Peter has to get in line, because right after that, then Jesus says, listen, if any of you guys want to come after me, deny yourself, take up your cross, and just follow me. In other words, keep your mouth shut and know that I have the game plan already taken care of.
Yeah, and when you know that game plan so faithfully, when you understand that it is something that is going to be good, ultimately, you're going to get denied sometimes in some good ways and some bad ways. And, right now, I think that a lot of the disciples, you think of like the sons of thunder that wanted to like cast lightning and
other.
fire, and he just corrected them, and he just said, hey, listen, like, hey, relax. And I think that's a good understanding for all of us to, when we are in the throes of things, of the throes of failure or resistance, we need to just pause and pray and reflect, relax, and to see the bigger picture. Right? The bigger picture for us is Jesus is coming back. The battle's already been won. And, you know, when he comes on that white horse, we're going to be, floating right beside him and saying, let's go. But, you know, that's the big thing is when we're in that moment, it's hard to see that far away. We don't have those binoculars, do we?
No. Yeah, like you said, it's hard to see out of the dark sometimes and see the daylight because the dark is so dark. But we're going to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so talk about a little bit about Moses' failure and then his wise father-in-law.
Yeah, so
in that. Yeah,
remember that Moses was leading the Israelites in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights and 40
years. So that's okay. Yeah, don't worry about it. I knew that. I knew the right answer.
And so anyway,
this is how you learn from failure,
right? And Moses is like, God, what do you want me to do? And he says, speak to the rock. And Moses is irritated with his people. And so instead of speaking to the rock and bringing the water forth, he strikes the rock out of anger.
Yeah.
How many times do we as leaders do just enough to do the right thing, but we do it in the wrong way? That's what happened with Moses, is he did the right thing in the wrong way, and it cost him. That was a failure that Moses wouldn't come back from because of that sin in Moses' life, striking the rock out of anger and not obeying God. He doesn't get to see the promised land. Joshua is the one to take him in, so he has to go up on the mountain and die. And he leaves that to Joshua because God says, no, Moses, you don't get to do that anymore. So sometimes we can, out of our failure, we can become angry. And I don't want us to sit in that anger. You know, there's somebody listening to this that's probably bitter or anger or over something unfair that's happened to you, or some failure that others are just piling on. And I just want you to hear me on this. Now, don't strike the rock. I want you to listen to the voice of God, allow him to bring you out of that place of bondage, and allow you to forgive and to move forward, because without that, you're going to stay in that place of anger and bitterness and resentment, and that will only destroy you. And so don't let that failure that you felt at in the beginning continue to destroy you in the end.
And because that failure in leaders develops empathy. You know, just to be able to understand that everyone's not trying to purposely piss you off, right? It's they're not.
You mean not everyone's out to get me?
You're right. Not every single person has the knife ready to stab in the back. And it's just an important reminder for people that, you know, great leaders will take failure and grow their empathy, but also firm their foundation. Right. And it's a good reminder to say, all right, this didn't go the way I had planned. And a lot of the times it's because we didn't fall back to what we know to be good. And, you know, the same thing with Jesus and the disciples is a lot of times they forgot, you know, all of what Jesus was speaking to them about. Like, remember, I said this, I said this, I said this. And, oh yeah, my bad. But it brings them back to the way, the truth, and the life. And that's something that I think is really important because, you know, failure reveals our blind spots, right?
It does.
A lot of the times as leaders...
Well, you got to explain what are blind spots.
So there's a lot of things, you know, I do something in the superintendent world where I have a teacher advisory team. And, you know, the best way to talk about this is through this. And every month I meet with them and it's a free agenda. They can put whatever they want. So I'll look at the agenda the week before and I'll be like, I wonder what this is about. I wonder what this is about. And they will tell me things that are not going maybe as planned or the way that they want it to go. And I had no idea. And therefore revealing blind spots in my leadership, what I wasn't paying attention to, what I wasn't quite communicating well enough. Even if I had great intentions, it didn't land well. And so these are things in that meeting that comes out for me in the advisory team meeting. And so, those are blind spots. I call them blind spots. Hey, sometimes I look at that and I say, oh, I didn't even think about that. So a lot of leaders will, those failures or those mistakes will illuminate your blind spots. I need to pay attention to this, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, it's best illustrated for me in marriage. Like there are things that I don't see in myself that Sandy sees very clearly. Like things that,
as we all do,
we fail at, that we don't always see. And so the people who know you best often are the ones who can help you understand your blind spots. So you have to tell people to be honest with you about things. And I love that you do that. It would freak me out a little bit. I'm not sure I would do it, but I admire you for it.
Well, there's guardrails behind it. So if you're in leadership, I would encourage you to try this is to put some guardrails. Say this is not a venting session. This is not, it's a session that says, hey, here's an issue and here's how we think we can improve it. And so it's a togetherness. It's not me in one spot and everyone else pointing a finger. It's more of a, hey, let's roll up our sleeves. What are some things that we can improve? I think about it as like fortifying your defenses, right? So everyone's working to defend from this invading army. And the workers are out there doing the job and they realize there's chinks in the fence, right? That people could get in. Maybe the olden days, the fence wasn't tight enough, and they're pointing it out, saying we need to spend more time over here to their generals, and the generals are saying, okay, thanks for letting me know. We'll make sure we get to that. And that's what really the point is, not necessarily the emotional, like, hey, I feel bad about this today, or you said this in that way. It's more organizationally, how can we be more sound? How can we improve? And of course, sometimes it leads into ways that gets away from that foundation, but then that's the leader's job. Put it right back. No, that's actually not really the point of this. We're going to be doing it this way.
And those failures that we were talking about, those kind of come out in that session. Soon, like, oh, this is the area that we failed in and can do better.
Yeah, in one way, shape, or another. It's an area that either I didn't communicate well enough, or I didn't even think about, or it might be an issue with other leaders that are not meeting the expectations of the staff. And so it just comes out in this way that's, for us, it's really positive. It's illuminating.
Are there things that you guys talk about that are positive that are going well in that meeting?
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of the things, like our first one's coming up this month, we'll talk about, the beginning of the school year, what went well, and what are some things you liked, and what are some things we need to keep, and then what are some things we need to chuck, right?
Cool.
And so it's a really cool thing. But that's how you learn from failures. I will tell you, without reflection, failure is going to be repeated. Don't you agree? I mean, when things don't go right, how often do we see people just like, and then move
forward,
and where you're saying, whoa, don't you read the room? Everyone is pointing this out. Everyone feels this mistake, and you can't just blow over it.
Right. You can't sweep it under the rug because it will come out.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So can I ask you, Gene, what's some of the biggest failures in your leadership that you learned?
In my leadership, there's been many. There was a time where something sounded like a really good idea at the time. So actually one that's just popping into my head was when I was a principal. We had student survey data. And one of the questions on the student survey data was, which adults in the building do I feel like I have a great relationship with? And the survey data came back, what I thought was great. Oh my gosh, this teacher's got 87% of her kids feel like they have a great relationship. This teacher's got 85%. This teacher's got 82%. So normally I just talk to them individually about that stat. But I thought it was so great, I'm going to put them all up there. And so the teachers all looked at that. And of course, the one that might have had 75%, which I thought was a great number, just it tore them apart. So I am the worst, their mindset was, I am the worst person in our school at building relationships. And that was something I didn't intend to do. And I made a colossal mistake by, publicizing that. And so I didn't even realize it till I got home, and I had another teacher call me and said, do you know what you just did? And it was one of the staff members that I really trusted. And I literally kind of like had to sit down because I hurt this teacher. And so it was a big, colossal leadership blunder on my part. And I had to go back and apologize and make it right and say, I'm so sorry. That was very inappropriate of me. And that was something that I learned, that, hey, you have to be able to think about how this lands with other people.
Well, there's a couple of things that I want to point out about that story that I love. And the first one is that you weren't defensive when she called you.
Right.
Or the teacher, just like you received that as as some really good advice from someone who wasn't your peer, but was, someone who was your employee.
Yeah.
And so that's humility. And then I really love the fact that you went and apologized. Like, I think we kind of we devalue that piece of it. So many people are so self-esteem deprived that they can't apologize. They're like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
And it's so bad. It's so damaging to other people when you don't admit you're a failure.
Yeah.
And like, admit that, hey, I messed up. That doesn't mean I'm a failure. I just really failed you in this area. And I think that's really awesome that you apologized and asked forgiveness. And I think that was some good street cred that you earned there.
Yeah. Well, while we're sharing our failures, I'm going to ask you, what's a big one that came apart in your life?
Yeah, for me, probably the biggest one was I had a incident where a group of people, it was early on in my ministry when I first took over as lead pastor, that kind of formed this little group, and they were being divisive. And I found out about it, and rather than waiting for my elders or at least one other elder to join me in confront, I called each one of these people and I asked them to come to my office, and they knew I was hot. And just the whole thing was a mess. Like, I confronted every one of these people. There was 7 of them throughout a period of one day. They all came in at different times. Some came with their spouses, some didn't, but I was by myself, and that turned into a he said, she said.
Oh, wow.
And I got accused then of saying things I didn't say by all of them, because of course they all got together and
right
said,
after,
well, this is what he says, and and a lot of it was untrue, and it was just a mess. And so I learned from that one, like, when you're going to confront a situation that's really hard, even if you approach it, and I really believe I approached it in humility and love, even though I was upset about it, I approached it well when I did it, but I didn't have anyone there to verify or back it up.
Yeah.
And it was a mess.
That reminds me, I was just reading Joshua last night, and there's this part in Joshua where I'm going to butcher this. The Gideons come, they kind of deceive him, and they make him sign a treaty with them. And, and one of the parts in the Bible says that because he did not confer with the Lord, or basically check with God on his decision, he decided to go ahead and make this treaty. And that's how often are we making our mistakes, or in the boat of failure, and we're not asking God what he wants us to learn from this setback.
Yeah, or approaching it out of our human wisdom.
Right.
Yeah. And as we approach our leadership positions through our faith, prayer is the most important thing in that.
Yeah.
Seeking the Lord and asking God, because if we run ahead of him, we don't always hear his heart in the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that, I think is valuable for everybody to understand, is when you're in any sort of situation, to check with God first, to praise the Lord in great situations, and to make sure that this is still in alignment with his will. Or when you're also on the other end of it, where you're not sure what to do.
One of my other failures I learned from was, I'm someone who's quick to confront. I admit that it's a blind spot for me, is that
I also think it's a great thing.
It is an important thing. Yeah, I think you have to be someone who holds others accountable, which means I have to be held accountable. But I tend to just jump in and be like, and deal with the situation now. And I had to learn the hard way. Take 24 hours and pray about it.
Yes.
Think about it before I write anything to the person or say anything to the person, because then I'm not reacting out of my anger as much as I'm reacting out of, okay, how do we solve this?
Yeah, more common sense.
Yeah.
And
24-hour pause. We all need it.
Need it. Harder to follow through. When I'm emotional and upset, I can't wait. It's like someone's holding me back to solve that problem. And that's something so thanks that had to be really hard to address divisiveness by yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a great lesson, I think, for everyone.
It was a killer, man. And it did not help. Like, it should have helped, and it would have helped had it been done correctly, and it was not done right.
So if you would have done it over again,
I would wait probably 24 to 48 hours. I did talk with my elders about it, but I was just this very young, naive, like go-getter leader that they went along with what I wanted to do. And none of them could come in at the time. And so I would have just said, oh, you know what, that's a sign from the Lord. And it was, but I didn't listen to just wait and pause. I wanted to get it off my chest. Right. That was all about me. Right. I want God's will in this thing. And it was Matt Whately running ahead of God. So
it was the Matt Whately show. It should have been the God and Matt Whately show.
It wasn't good. So I learned a lot from that situation, and it broke relationships. That was the hard part.
Man. And that's just something that I wanted to encourage all of you guys, is that as awesome as we look, as awesome as I was talking about, like Matt Rule looks right now as the Huskers, or even, Deion Sanders, man, we all have some resistance that we're dealing with at all times.
In all seriousness, I want to give a shout out. He'll probably watch the show tomorrow.
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he really did. I mean, he learned a lot from this draft situation. I think, he is an amazing personality and probably a little much for a lot of people. And that was hard for teams to draft.
Yeah.
But if you watch any of his interviews, he learned from that. And he's like, you know what, I'm just appreciative of the opportunity. And one of the things I appreciate the most is last week I was watching an interview with him. And the reporter asked him, they said, how have you grown the most through this process the last few months? He said, I've grown in my relationship with the Lord.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, I don't know whether the young man's on fire believer or not, but taking him at his word and seeing what's happened over the last couple of months, I'm just saying, okay, there is some fruit there, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's not our job to judge his heart, and where he's at, but just just actually pray for him and to be able to do that. And I also heard another thing where he was turning down endorsement deals, and he said, I need to focus on this job.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure I'm good at this job.
Yeah.
And so this is another humbling way. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna kind of wrap this segment up with my own dose of encouragement, if you will, if you're good with that, Matt.
Yeah.
And the main thing I want to talk about on the topic of failure is that you are not your failure. That doesn't define you. That's not who you are. That's just a process to get on the other side. It's an obstacle. It's resistance that you need to make yourself stronger. So what do we do when we work out? We use resistance. It makes our muscles stronger. It makes our mind better. So when we are in the throes of resistance, it's tough. It's grueling. Sometimes it seems unbearable. I mean, just that we can't take it anymore. But I want to remind you that we serve a God that is the heavyweight champion of them all, right? I mean, he's the King of all kings, and he can make way for you anything you want as long as you have faith in him. And sometimes it won't be in the way that you think, but it'll be better if you go in his way. And so that's my encouragement to you, is to view your failure as perseverance, and perseverance then will turn to character, and that character will turn to hope in Christ. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we got for you today, episode 10, Matt.
One last thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I feel like the greatest leaders are the ones who walk with scars.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
hey, we're gonna have some failures. We're gonna limp.
And they don't hide them.
Mm-mm.
And that's a really good point. Before we kind of finish, like, just those scars are often teach us the greatest lessons,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's something that a great leader will kind of command the room with, and to really kind of deflate the ego in the room. And when you first say, "Hey, look at this scar. This is what happened," and this is what we're going to learn from.
Mm-hmm.
So, episode 10, The Art of Failure. This might have been my favorite episode.
Okay.
This was really cool. I really enjoyed this. And
Well,
so,
I like how I look on the screen. I don't like how you, but I mean,
your hair is a lot better than mine today. Mine's not as frou-frou-y.
well, I got
That's really good. Did you get a haircut?
well, no, I got the
Yes,
fluff going.
Oh, well, I can't do that either. So thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that. Well, guys, God bless you. We hope you have a great day, and continue to like, subscribe our channel, and we wish you all the best. See ya. Thanks for listening to our podcast today. If you would like, please subscribe, rate, review, give us all the butterflies you can. We appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless.